Hello and welcome back to lesson number 6. For this lesson I'm going to be talking briefly about glob, which is an incredibly useful package and one of the best names of packages in the Python ecosystem. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about Matplotlib and some more advanced things you can do with it. Okay, so first of all, glob. What's glob? Well, it's a package that comes with Python, so you should all be able to install it without having to use pip install. You import it like so, and it just has one function that we're going to use, which is called glob. glob.glob. What this does is it pattern matches with file names in your current directory by default, but you can look in other directories as well. So we can tell it to tell us anything that ends with .txt. We're using wildcards here, much like they are used in the ls command in Bash, for those of you that have experience with Linux or Mac. What this will then do is it will fetch all of the files in our current directory or in the given directory that end in .txt and return them as separate strings in a list to the user. So we can say all sim files. Okay, cool. That's great. So what do we do with it? Well, now that we've got this information, we can use the Matplotlib plotting skills we've got to plot all of the simulation files on a single plot to see just how much they vary. So first of all, we're going to import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. We're going to need to pass the data, so we're going to use numpy as well. And then we're going to say for sim file in all sim files, to create a for loop. We're going to add in some other things, but just before we do that, and before I forget, we need to remember to turn on interactive mode for the Matplotlib plot. Now let's create a figure. Let's create some axes on that figure, just as I've shown you so far. You can see this is what the figure looks like. Now, all I need to do is write this for loop. So and then we just provide the sim file name and skip rows of 52. Now we've got x is equal to sim all the rows first column, y is equal to sim all the rows second column, and z is equal to sim all the rows third column. Now we've got all the data, so now we just need to do a cross-section through it. So we do that by finding the smallest y value. So what we can do is say, okay, x is equal to x, where y is equal to np.amin. So we're taking the smallest value section plot. There we go. And now we have set the title on our plot. And this is quite powerful. We're building up quite a lot of things regarding our plot that we didn't have before. In fact, we're probably quite happy with this. We're basically done. So what we can do is then save it. So we say fig.savefig, and then we provide some kind of file name. So my multiple line graph.png. Then that will save the figure in a folder, which we can then open. So I'd recommend you try that yourselves. We can also call it exactly the same thing as our simulation file. It's quite powerful, but basically we've got a lot of things going on that we can augment our plot with. And that really is it. There's quite a lot you can do in Matplotlib. There's quite a bit more in the notes about things that we do and we show you can do. So have a go at the exercises. Now note that these exercises are a little special because they're actually fairly straightforward, but they require a lot of creativity from how to treat them. You're not expected to just go through the notes and rewrite everything exactly. It's more of an expectation that you'll go through and use the materials that you have available to you. I can guarantee that the first exercise can be finished in under a minute if you're quick. Just need to make use of the notes that are in the exercises and what they already do. So please take some time to go through those and make sure you understand what they're doing before you leap into the exercises. Alright, I'll see you in lesson 7.